everybody. My name is Becca Wilson. I am the host and founder of Married Sisters Talk Show. This show is created to deal with real topics and issues that women today are facing. Whether you're married, single, or divorced, this show is for every sister. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and every Tuesday at noon on the YouTube channel. If you like our show, please like and subscribe. And leave a comment and let us know how we are doing.
We are sisters, married sisters, living our best lives, being blessed wives with our misters. We are sisters, we are married sisters.
I mean, even with the church using Vashti, again, in previous sermons that I've had as a, what not to do, these were Persian people. These weren't God's children. So why they would ever be used for the benchmark, that perplexes me, you know?
Right. Why are they the standard?
Why? Why would it?
Probably because of their worldly view. Because when I think of it, I think of like the women's right movement, and so in that, they were saying you don't have a right because you're a woman. And so it's beautiful that you said they were in the secular world, because in the secular world, it might seem okay to you just shut up and you be submissive. And I lead you as far as, the male goes. And it's like, as a woman, you have the right to say no, and I don't think society makes it appropriate for a woman to say, I don't like that. Or, they just want us to sit there, be beautiful, and shut up. And it's like, you have permission, sis, to say no. Especially if you're about to be embarrassed. You don't have to just go with the flow, because that's a form of abuse. He wants her to be naked amongst drunken men. I wouldn't do that. No. It doesn't matter who it is, the king, the president. Right. Exactly. So it shows that this is how you feel about her.
His queen.
Yeah.
Once again, we see in something in history, so to speak, that here is a woman who is literally a queen, but being treated and paraded around and wanting to be gawked at like simply a Playboy bunny.
Yeah. One of the things history does say that Queen Vashti either was pregnant with his son or has already had the son. So, because if you notice, when she was disposed from the kingdom, their son was actually born that same year. So she had to put into account, like, I don't, you calling me, you're being insensitive to my needs just because, you want me to come out and, introduce me wearing the royal crown. But you also think about, too, because like you said, we've been around people who are drunk. You've been in those type of situations, and some people have been in those type of situations where it doesn't turn out good for women. No. It opens the door to abuse, sexual abuse, violence and stuff when they're under the influence of wine like that. And not saying that he wouldn't have protected her if one of the men, try to touch on her or something of that nature, and then, maybe not, who's to say? But given that time period, he was real insensitive. He was trying to flex, like I said. Yes. I think he was just trying to flex. This is what I have, but this is my last prize, and I need to show the men my beautiful wife because her name is beautiful. She was very beautiful to look upon. Yeah. And so, like I said, in those situations, it opens the door. When you're around people who are not in their right mind, it opens the door to abuse at times. And just being able for Queen Vashti to say, no, I'm not going to be demoralized. This goes against my character. This goes against my very spirit. There is power in just saying no. Yes. No is a positive word. Yes. It really is. Yes. It really is. You gain your power back by, I don't have to submit to that type of mess. I say no, Simply just no.
Submission is not mindless obedience.
That's right.
And for some people, that's how they interpret. Even switching over to Christendom, that's the way some people interpret submission. Is that, you're voiceless and it's mindless obedience. And you're just supposed, do whatever I say. And that's not actually what that's supposed to be.
Well, it's not the role of a woman in either sphere as the queen. It's not a subordinate role, and so with that submission, it's been made to be, I'm your subordinate, not your equal. We're equal even in submission, we're still equal. So I'm not your subordinate, I'm not your child or employee. We are equal in the relationship. And so until that's recognized in Christendom, in terms of that level of submission, we walk in submission to each other. It's not just me submitting to you, which I think was mentioned in another segment. We're submitting to each other as unto the Lord.
That's key right there, as unto the Lord. But just one more thing, just back to like Queen Vashti, just to make it more real. I think about our President Donald Trump and Melania. That Melania was beautiful. It's almost like that same thing of Donald Trump flexing, look at all the wealth that I have. Look at America, his armed forces. And he gets in that locker room talk, as he had said before. The locker room talk, you see that man's perception of what he thinks about, women when they open their mouth and begin to, talk like that. I'm not going to say what he said and, when that thing that they were on the bus. But, there's that perception. And it's like, wow, if Melania just ever knew the power that she really has, she came from posing and I think, Playboy to, being that foreigner to the White House. How you can really speak for a lot of women.
Yes.
If she would just find her voice and say, I know, because everybody heard what he said on the bus. And it's talking about, this is just candid locker room talk. This is how men talk about women. And I'm like,
that's an insult within itself.
Yes.
That's not how all men talk about.
Thank you.
Women.
That's how some of you guys who like to find that beautiful person and flex them, on your arm, and you kind of go through a few of them. But if she really realized the power Melania has, where she can rise up and say no. Just the power of no, saying no to even sex trafficking, no to women being treated this way, no to violence against women. She really has a very powerful voice, but yet she's quiet.
Well, and the thing is because the fact that you have to have multiple when you have one that's so beautiful lets you know that the beautiful one really doesn't capture your attention anyway. So it's really the woman of power that you're seeking. So you're waiting, you're trying all these women out, waiting to find someone that's gonna have her own identity, because the beauty isn't enough. The beauty isn't enough to hold them, or they wouldn't go from in the situation of the number 45. You wouldn't have multiple. The one that you would have would hold your attention. So if there are ladies out there, and there are, you see them around the sporting events, you see them around the men that are doing well, your beauty is not going to be enough to sustain a relationship. Your power can. Your power and authority can.
That's right. That's right. That's so true, because we don't have to keep subjugating ourselves to the appetite of men.
Right.
When we know ourselves, when we know who we are as a woman, when we know who we are in Christ, we gain that authority and walk in that power. And then a lot of society want to call us, when a woman who is confident, who's bold, who's walking in authority, who knows who she is, well, they like to be called the itch with the B over here, put that together, and you know what I'm saying. So why do we got to be, referred to like that?
I feel like it's just envy. Because for me, just watching myself have a voice, get married, lose the voice, and then find it again. It was an interesting dichotomy, because I feel like as women, since we're married sisters, we have to tell women that that may happen. You know what I'm saying? You come into a marriage, you come there, you try to figure out, how do I submit? What does submission mean? Do I just shut up? Do I stop talking? Do I need to lift him up do I need to be less so he can be more? But then God was like, hey, it's power in you. Yes. But I need you to learn how to say what to say. Don't just say anything. And so in that season of just being quiet, God was showing me, and you and I talked about it. Studying to be quiet is what we talked about. Yes. Studying to be quiet so that when I do find my voice again, that I know how to say what to say, and that I'm tactful, not hurtful, not verbally abusive, because there is so much power in us, and we have so much more power when we just speak. And we empower them more when we open our mouths. And they, like what you were saying, they look to the women who are vocal. You know, they don't want us to just be there and meek so they can feel macho. They need us to say something. So there are things I have to say in my household to make stuff happen. Because if mama is silent, there are things that aren't going to get done. And all of us are moms. So we already know we got to say some stuff. We have to delegate some things, but we don't have to be nasty about it. So it's a balance of really figuring out how to vocalize what you need to say, but staying in prayer. And in that prayer position, God will show us how to become undone and be able to find our voice in it.
And that gives me two thoughts about Queen Vashti. Well, not both about her. It gives me two thoughts. One thought concerning her is possibly that the lesson learned is that you can still operate in power. That's where people they misinterpret meekness for weakness. Because meekness is a strength. But for someone that doesn't understand strength, they will look at it as a weakness. And so possibly she could have still had her voice and exercised her voice, but in a different way, other than just, no. You know, she might, because, you know, there is a way, a strength to a woman of knowing how to answer your man and how to make him think that he thought of it all along. You know, it was his idea and he'd be like, yeah. If we're smart, we make him look good without making ourselves look bad. And it's an art to, you know, and you grow and you learn that. And that's where I miss the older women being those older women that could teach you, honey, you need shut mouth grace, you know, and teaching you how to not be manipulative, but yet have power, to exude that power that you don't need to act like him. You don't have to come off like you two dudes and, you know, and still be a lady with it and have such power in it that he does not even know what just hit him. And you're like, yeah, that's how you do it, girls. You know, the other thing I was going to say, seeing that we are all African-American women up here, it has often been my plight. And I know we may get some comments. Ooh, not trying to make anybody mad with me. So understand me when I say this. I believe you should not marry for, you know, arm candy and who's going to make you look good. Right. However, like my husband always says, your spouse, looking at it from the man's view as well as the woman's, they are a product of your decisions. And so if you believe that they are, you know, a bad choice, then that's showing your decisions. If you think I made a wise decision, that is showing your decisions as well. So I believe that people should marry based on, of course, marry for love, not for position and all of that kind of stuff. And in the body of Christ, we have a whole lot of wrong motives for marriage. So I believe people should marry. I don't care what color you are. It's based on, or what culture. I believe as believers, you ought to marry believers. So if you're already a believer, then don't go out to the world to find what it is you need. You know, it's not about what color house you live in. It's about who do you serve? Who's your master? Who's your Lord? Okay, we got the same Lord. All right, let's do that. But in saying that, looking at the plight of African-American women and our strength, I don't like how, and I've said this for years, so my son knows this, my oldest son, he says this now. An African-American woman gets dogged out by an African-American man for the same thing that he will uplift his mother for. In other words, you hear, I didn't like as a woman now, yes, I could be opinionated. Yes, I could have my own ideas and my own concepts and thoughts and so forth. And yes, I felt like I don't need anyone to take care of me or to give me an identity. I have one. I don't marry you because I need you. I marry you because I love you. And that's why I stay with you. But I never liked how guys, when I was single, I always wanted to be married. But I didn't like how how black men would say, oh, see, that's why I'm gonna go get somebody else. I need to get another kind of woman because you too opinionated and you too strong. But yet he would praise his mother, an African-American woman, that she was a strong woman. My mama didn't take no mess. My mama could do this and that and the other. But yet you put me down for the same qualities that you uplift your mother for. And I can only imagine what their culture, looking at Queen Vashti, the things that to be a queen, honey, you can't just, you can't be taken down by little comments and other people's opinions. You got to be strong to stand beside that man. And now here she is being strong, possibly exemplifying it in the wrong way, yet still being strong. And now you want to get rid of her. You asking people, so what should we do to the queen? Give me some ideas, because I can't deal with this. When before that was something that you probably praised her for. And now it's an insult to you. It's an insult. So I feel like we face some of those same likenesses.
And I like what you said, that, because we lack mothers to really groom and teach us young ladies how to respond, or how to just behave, period, whether with a husband or not a husband, just in society and with other women, other people, period. But one thing too, I want to say that, we as women, you should never embarrass your man out in public, and he should never embarrass you. Right. Like I said, he shouldn't call upon you to do anything that's going to go against your character, your spirit, your demeanor, or, anything of that nature. And that should be reciprocated. That's right. A lot of times we as black women, black culture is just shun up on. Y'all got too much mouth. It's true. Some of us do got too much mouth. Yes. Some of us need to learn to shut up. Right. Put the shut to the up.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm looking at some couples like, get your woman.
Yes.
And get your girl.
Right.
Can you silence her?
And the same with men too. Men as men, you just got too much mouth too. Especially, I don't want to say especially those raised by just, in single women homes or something like that. I don't want to say that. But there's men out here that got just as much mouth as some of these women. And y'all got to learn together to study to be quiet, submit to one another, you got to work it out.
Yes.
If
Please
you're
work
live
it out.
Together,
Please.
But I do want to begin to talk about Queen Esther. Queen Esther, when she comes up on the scene, of course, this is after Vashti was put out of the kingdom, and then Ahasuerus, he was defeated in a war, and he came home and he remembered Queen Vashti. And it was probably, of course, he was in his right mind. He needed somebody to stroke him. Baby, it's okay. I know you lost this battle, but we gonna win that war. He needed that. So he was missing that. So his eunuchs and everyone was like, you know what? Let's get all the fine, beautiful virgins we can. Does this make you feel good? How that, and you can pick amongst the finest, and then what you don't pick, we can put them over here in the harem as your concubines. Yeah. So we can just rotate them, get them all out.
Yeah. So either way, you can get them all, Doc.
Yeah. And so Mordecai heard about this, that he was looking for a queen and wanted Esther. So he submitted Esther to the palace to be taken care of. I love the story of Esther because she came from circumstances out of her control. She was fatherless. She was motherless. Her cousin was Mordecai, who raised her. I don't really know if it says that from what age, he started raising her, but she was an orphan. So she goes from a Jewish orphan to a Jewish queen inside of a palace. I'm like, what a transformation. Mm-hmm. And so, in talking about Queen Esther, a lot of times people, I would hear, she was the right kind of submissive. She just did, she didn't say nothing, she just did what she was told, type of thing. But as we begin to talk about Queen Esther, you realize the power that she gained by opening her mouth and discovering who she really was. And so what do you ladies think about, Queen Esther? Like I said, she came from being an orphan, and when she was that orphan, her name was Haddish, and which means amongst the barriers and thorns. But then when she came into the Parisian culture, a lot of the Jews could have left and went back, but Mordecai and them stayed. And so, she got used to their custom, even though she was Jewish. She got used to the Parisian custom, dressing like them probably. And so when she was introduced to going into the palace with this opportunity of that I could be a queen. Yeah. So what do you guys think about Queen Esther?
Well, I think, I always, of course, I like the story of Queen Esther. And I do believe that, of course, there's symbolically that it's about grooming and being prepared for such a time as this, regardless of what you might have started as or come from. However, just like Queen Vashti, Esther pulled some gangster moves too. And she opened her mouth and stepped out to do some things that nobody else would do or that you shouldn't do. However, there's a difference when you make these moves with God and you make these moves with false gods. So she was, a woman of God and stepping out there. And so it's one thing in just being bold and being bold knowing whose you are. And so she did what she did is the equivalent of what God asks us to do. On the contrary, Vashti is very important, how you all brought out that was the secular way of handling it. And she pulled a move, she busted a move and had to deal with those type of circumstances. We a lot of times can do things, and when we're operating in faith and favor, there's a grace upon us. When God sends us to do something, it's bigger than us. And it's more than just the assignment of, so what Mordecai and Esther, what they're thinking of, oh, I'm pretty enough to be this. God had a bigger plan. Yes. It wasn't about how she looked on the outside. It was something that was on the inside of her that was a strength that was going to get her where other people could not have gone, out there what is that on Star Trek or whatever, it's going to go where no one's gone before. She was going to be able to do these things and basically get away with it. It was going to be seen as strength and not as a rebellion.
Hi again, this is Becca Wilson. Hope you have enjoyed our show today. Don't forget to like us and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and tune in live here every Tuesday, 12 noon, for a new episode of Married Sisters. Thank you and have a great day, everybody.